Big wins are great, but they're rare. And while we're waiting for them, we're ignoring all the little victories that are happening right in front of us. Those small wins, they're the secret sauce to feeling like you're actually moving forward in life. Welcome to Empowered Journey. I'm Will, and I'm so glad you've chosen to spend some time with me today. Whether you're driving, working, or just relaxing, I hope today's episode helps you feel motivated and ready to tackle whatever comes next. Recently, I've had some time to reflect on the small wins that we often overlook. Have you ever felt that way? Those little moments of progress, those tiny steps forward that don't seem significant at first but are often ignored. We tend to focus so much on big goals, big achievements, that we forget it's these small wins that actually help us stay on track and keep moving forward toward the bigger ones. I've realized, especially in the last few weeks, that these small moments have been what have kept me not just moving forward, but enjoying each step of the journey. Maybe it feels like there's nothing worth celebrating, but when you take a step back, you'll see that these small wins are actually the building blocks of bigger success. One of the most overlooked aspects of achieving our goals is recognizing and celebrating those small steps forward. Let's dive into why these small victories are so important and how we can use them to create greater motivation and momentum in our lives. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that success only counts when we hit big milestones. The promotion, the major project completed, or the dream goal achieved. We often look at these grand moments as the defining markers of our success, and we wait for them before we allow ourselves to feel accomplished. But here's the thing. It's the small, everyday wins that actually build the foundation for those bigger successes. Think about it. Every day, we make choices, take steps, and overcome challenges, and most of those moments don't feel extraordinary. Maybe it's finishing a small task you've been putting off, or maybe it's saying no to something that doesn't align with your goals. Whatever it is, each of these seemingly small actions is a victory in itself. But how often do we pause to recognize them? In the past, I too used to focus only on the big wins, the moments when I could visibly see progress. But as I started embracing the little steps, I realized something important. These small wins are what keep you moving forward. When we celebrate these everyday victories, we create momentum. And momentum, as you may know, is powerful. It's what pushes us to keep going, even when things feel tough or when progress seems slow. Let's talk about a simple example. Think of a person trying to get fit. They might not notice much change after a few workouts, but when they celebrate the consistency of showing up, they're building a habit. Over time, this small, consistent action turns into a lifestyle shift. And eventually, those bigger results come. The key is to recognize that the journey itself is full of wins, and it's these wins that add up to the ultimate success. So, how do we start embracing these small wins? It's about shifting our mindset from waiting for perfection to appreciating progress. It's about acknowledging that each small step, no matter how insignificant it might seem, is a victory in its own right. And when we start celebrating these small wins, we open the door to even bigger ones. To truly understand the impact of small wins, let's take a deeper look at why they matter and how they influence our journey. We all know the feeling of working towards something big. Maybe it's launching a project, building a business, or reaching a personal milestone. But here's where things can get tricky. The path to these big goals can often feel long and overwhelming, which is why so many people get discouraged before they even reach the finish line. What if we shifted our focus, though? What if we started celebrating the process rather than just the end result? When we start noticing and appreciating small wins, something incredible happens. We begin to cultivate a mindset of growth. Instead of feeling defeated by what we haven't achieved yet, we feel energized by the progress we've made, however small it may seem. Each of these little victories is a building block, and when you stack enough of them together, they form something substantial. Let's take a look at how this works in practice. Think about a goal you've set. Maybe you're working on improving your health, mastering a new skill, or even trying to stay consistent with a new habit. The key to progress isn't always in big, dramatic changes. It's in the small, consistent actions you take every day. These are the moments that don't always get celebrated, but they should. For example, instead of waiting for the day you finally feel fit or successful, Start celebrating the fact that you got up today, did a workout, or even simply made a healthy choice in the midst of a busy schedule. Every time you take action, you're sending a message to yourself that progress is happening, and that progress is a win. This shift in perspective doesn't just help us stay motivated, it also creates a positive feedback loop. When we celebrate small wins, we feel more empowered to keep going. It boosts our confidence, encourages persistence, and ultimately makes the journey feel more rewarding. Instead of feeling like you're trudging through an endless list of tasks, you begin to see each one as part of a larger, meaningful process. And don't forget, small wins build momentum. The more you acknowledge your progress, the easier it becomes to keep moving forward, even when the road ahead still seems long. It's like a snowball effect. The more you celebrate, the bigger the impact it has on your motivation and overall mindset. So today, I challenge you to take a moment and think about the small wins you've experienced. What have you done recently that you can celebrate, no matter how small? Those moments of progress are far more powerful than we often realize, and it's time to start recognizing them for the important milestones they truly are. I remember a time when I was working on a big project that felt like it would never end. It wasn't just any project. It was a goal I had poured so much of myself into, something I had been dreaming about for months. At first, the excitement was there, and the idea of bringing it to life was thrilling. But as time passed, something changed. The thrill started to wear off, and what was once a dream began to feel like an endless task. I remember sitting in front of my computer day after day, looking at the same screen, trying to push through, but the progress felt so slow. It was like I was running a race, but instead of getting closer to the finish line, I was just running in circles. Every time I checked off one item on my to-do list, I would look at the next task, and it felt like the mountain was only getting taller. And that's when the self-doubt crept in. I kept thinking, I'm so far from where I want to be. This is never going to happen. Why isn't it moving faster? I was too focused on the distance between me and the finish line, rather than celebrating where I was right now. It didn't matter how much I was doing. All I could see was how much was left to do. It was around this time that I was talking to a friend, venting about how stuck I felt. I told them about the project, about the long hours, the frustration, and how I had no idea when I would actually see the end of it. And almost casually, they said something that really hit me. Have you ever stopped to think that maybe you're moving forward, even if it doesn't feel like it? At first, I didn't get it. Moving forward? I felt like I was stuck in quicksand. But they explained, what's one thing you've done this week that's progress, no matter how small? That question stayed with me. I didn't have an answer right away, but I couldn't shake it off. So I decided to take a step back and look at things from a different angle. Instead of looking at the whole mountain, I started focusing on the small steps I was taking every day. And honestly, it wasn't easy. I had to force myself to acknowledge what I had done, even when it didn't feel like much. But little by little, I started to see things differently. One day, I celebrated the fact that I had finally completed a chapter of my project. Now, it wasn't the entire project, not even close, but it was something. Something I could look at and say, I did that. The next day, I organized my notes, something I'd been avoiding for weeks. But in doing so, I made the whole process feel a little less chaotic. These small wins, they were everywhere. I just hadn't been seeing them. I started to notice that as I began recognizing these small victories, I felt more energized. It was like a switch flipped. The weight of the whole project didn't feel so heavy anymore, and I was able to tackle the next task with a bit more excitement. There was momentum, and it wasn't because I had magically completed everything. Far from it. It was because I had shifted my focus. I wasn't waiting for some grand final moment to feel successful. I had learned to feel successful in the smaller moments. But here's where the twist came. Once I started celebrating those small wins, I realized I'd been missing out on something much deeper. It wasn't just about feeling accomplished. It was about giving myself permission to be proud of my efforts, no matter how small. I had always believed that if I didn't achieve perfection, I didn't deserve to feel good about myself. I kept waiting for this perfect moment, but all it did was hold me back. I was stuck in a cycle of self-criticism and doubt, waiting for the future to tell me I was enough. But what if we're enough right now, just as we are? Even with all the unfinished projects, the mess, the chaos. That realization was a game changer. Once I acknowledged the progress I was making, no matter how small it seemed, I started to see myself differently. I wasn't just the person who was always struggling to get things done. I was the person who was showing up every day, who was making progress, who was moving forward, even if it didn't always feel like it. Looking back, I can honestly say that learning to celebrate small wins was one of the most important lessons I've learned in my life. It changed the way I approach challenges, it changed the way I work, and it certainly changed the way I view myself. And I want to share this with you because I know how it feels to be in that place. Stuck, frustrated, wondering if you're ever going to get anywhere. So, if you're feeling like I did, remember this. Every step forward is progress. Whether it's finishing a chapter, organizing your thoughts, or simply getting out of bed when you're feeling overwhelmed, those small wins add up. They matter. They build momentum. And when you start acknowledging them, you'll find that the journey becomes just as rewarding as the destination. You don't have to wait for the big moment to celebrate. Start celebrating now. Celebrate the small wins, because they are the ones that will carry you to your bigger goals. All right, so we've talked about the power of small wins and how important it is to embrace those little victories along the way. But now, let's dive into how you can make this a real part of your journey. How you can take action and start making those small wins work for you. Because here's the thing. You can do this. You already have what it takes. You just need to give yourself permission to start and to keep going, even when it feels hard. 1. Track your progress daily. The first step is to start paying attention to how much you're actually doing. This is something I didn't fully understand until I started using a simple strategy. Tracking my progress every day. Sounds simple, right? But the impact is massive. When you track even the smallest accomplishments, it shifts your perspective. You might be surprised at how much you're actually getting done. You don't need anything fancy to start tracking. Grab a journal or use an app. There are so many great tools out there to help you track your day-to-day activities. Whether it's an app for goal setting, a to-do list, or even just a simple note on your phone. The key is to write it down. And trust me, when you look back at the end of the week and see how much you've done, you'll be amazed. Those tiny actions add up. Tracking gives you tangible evidence of your progress, and that's a powerful motivator to keep going. 2. Celebrate after completing small tasks. Next, let's talk about celebration. You might be thinking, why celebrate something so small? But let me tell you, celebration is crucial. When you finish a task, no matter how big or small, take a moment to acknowledge it. Acknowledge that you did something, that you moved forward, even just a little bit. It doesn't have to be a grand celebration. It can be as simple as taking a short break, sharing your progress with a friend, or treating yourself to something small. Maybe a cup of coffee, a walk outside, or just a few minutes of relaxation. These little rewards will help reinforce the habit of celebrating your progress, which will keep you motivated for the bigger tasks ahead. And when you start celebrating, something incredible happens. You feel good about yourself. You start to recognize your value, and the small wins you're achieving become a foundation for bigger, more meaningful accomplishments. 3. Use small wins as a springboard for bigger goals. Here's the thing about small wins. They are momentum builders. Every time you complete something, you create a sense of accomplishment, a sense of forward motion. And that momentum, it's powerful. It's like a snowball effect. Once you get it rolling, it only gets bigger and bigger. So use each small win as a springboard for the next step. Don't wait until you finish everything to feel successful. Instead, celebrate each win and use that energy to tackle the next challenge. Every little victory, no matter how insignificant it seems, fuels the bigger wins down the road. Imagine what happens when you build up a whole week, a whole month of consistent progress. It's unstoppable. When you celebrate small wins, you'll find that you gain the confidence to take on bigger goals. The things that once seemed impossible or overwhelming won't feel so intimidating anymore. You've already proven to yourself that you can achieve, so now you're ready to take it to the next level. This is how success snowballs. 4. Don't compare your journey to others. This one is so important. Don't compare your journey to anyone else's. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that success looks a certain way, or that you should be at a certain place in your life by now. But the truth is, your journey is unique. Your progress is your own, and that is something to be proud of. When you're focusing on small wins, remember that your steps are just as important as anyone else's, no matter how big or small they seem. The person next to you might have already reached a big milestone, but that doesn't mean your small wins don't matter. They do. Every step you take is building your path, and that path is yours alone. Don't let anyone else's timeline or achievements make you feel like you're behind. Celebrate your wins, even if they're not the same as someone else's. 5. Reframe failure as part of the process. Let's talk about failure. So often, we think of failure as a sign that we're not good enough or that we've messed up. But here's the truth. Failure is part of the process. Every time something doesn't go as planned, it's an opportunity to learn, grow, and adjust. And you know what? That's a win in itself. Reframe your setbacks as lessons. Instead of getting discouraged, ask yourself, what did I learn from this? The fact that you tried, the fact that you took action, means you're already moving forward. Failure isn't something to fear. It's something to embrace. It's simply a step in the process. The most successful people didn't get there without failure. They got there by learning from it, by failing forward. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to get everything right the first time. What matters is that you keep going. You're allowed to stumble, but you are not allowed to stop. And if you fail, remember, it's not the end of the road. It's part of the journey. So here's my challenge to you today. Start tracking your wins, even the smallest ones. Celebrate them. Use them to propel yourself forward. Don't compare your journey to anyone else's, and don't let setbacks hold you back. You are capable of achieving whatever you set your mind to, as long as you take that first step and keep going. You have everything you need right now. You don't need to wait for permission, and you don't need to wait for the perfect moment. Start today and keep building on those small wins, because with each step, you're moving closer to your bigger goals. You've got this. I know it's not always easy. In fact, some days it feels like you're giving it everything you've got, but the results just don't seem to show up. You might start questioning yourself, wondering if all the effort is even worth it. Am I really making progress? You might ask. It's easy to get discouraged when things aren't moving as fast as you'd hoped, or when the rewards feel so distant. I've been there too. I've had those moments where I felt like I was spinning my wheels, pushing hard but not seeing the payoff. I remember working late nights, pouring my energy into projects that didn't seem to be moving forward, feeling like I was stuck in a loop. It was frustrating, and sometimes it made me wonder if I was just wasting my time. But here's the thing, and I want you to hear this loud and clear. You are not alone. Every person who has ever achieved something meaningful started exactly where you are right now. They started with the same doubts, the same fear of failure. The difference is that they didn't give up. They kept going. They kept showing up every day, even when the path seemed unclear, even when they didn't know exactly how things would turn out. What I realized, and what I want you to know, is that those small wins, they matter. Every little step you take, every small action you complete, builds on the one before it. And before you know it, those little wins add up to something much bigger than you imagined. So, I'm here to tell you this. There's nothing you can't do. You're capable of more than you think, and you're further along than you realize. The key is to keep going, even when it feels like progress is slow. And if you ever feel like giving up, just remember that you're not in this alone. I'm right here with you, cheering you on every step of the way. If you can take one more step today, one more small action, that's progress, and that's all you need to keep moving forward. Trust me, those tiny steps will lead to something big, something you can be proud of. You've got this, and I'm with you. All right, let's take a moment to completely shift our perspective. We're so used to waiting for that big breakthrough, that one huge dramatic moment when everything finally falls into place. We believe success only comes when we hit a major milestone, when we can look back and say, "That's it, I've made it." But what if I told you that success isn't just about those big moments? What if it's actually the small wins, the little actions you take every single day that are the true drivers of success? It's time to stop waiting for perfection and start recognizing that every action you take is a victory. I want you to let that sink in for a second. Every time you show up, every time you make a decision that takes you one step closer to your goal, you're moving forward. And that forward motion, it matters. We've been conditioned to think that only big wins count, that unless we're completing a massive project or hitting a major milestone, we haven't achieved anything. But let's look at the truth here. The big wins don't happen without the small ones. Every significant achievement you've ever had in your life started with something small. It started with that first step, that first decision to take action. Think about it for a moment. You don't wake up one day and magically get everything you've ever wanted. Success isn't a one-time event. It's a collection of actions, choices, and habits. And it's in those small actions where your power lies. Every time you finish a task, no matter how insignificant it seems, you're building something. Every small choice you make, whether it's writing that first line of a report, making that phone call, or even just getting out of bed when you don't feel like it, that's all progress, and all of it counts. The mindset shift here is simple but powerful. Stop waiting for the big breakthrough. Start seeing every action as a win. For example, let's say you're working on a big project, and it feels overwhelming. You're looking at the mountain ahead, thinking about how much you still have to do. But let's take a step back. What if, instead of focusing on the end goal, you focused on today? What's one small thing you can do right now? Maybe it's writing a paragraph, making a list, or even just organizing your workspace. That's progress. If you celebrate that progress, you build momentum. And momentum is the secret ingredient to success. When you acknowledge these small wins, you start feeling more confident, more energized, and more motivated to keep going. You're telling yourself, "I'm on the right track." And when you keep reinforcing that message, you'll find that even the hardest days feel a little easier. Imagine how much easier it would be to tackle your goals if you didn't wait for some big moment of perfection. What if you celebrated every step, every single small win? You wouldn't be waiting for success to come to you. You'd already be living it in real time. Think about the athletes, the writers, the entrepreneurs, every successful person you know. Do you think they reached their goals by sitting around waiting for something huge to happen? No, they took small steps every day. They showed up, even when it was hard. They made tiny decisions that led them closer to their goal. And over time, those small decisions became the foundation of their success. This is where the real power lies, in the consistency of small actions. Every time you show up, every time you make progress, no matter how small, you're getting closer to your big goal. But here's the key. You can't skip the small stuff. The big wins don't come without it. Every small action is a stepping stone that builds the bridge to your larger goals. Now, I know there might be times when it feels like those small steps aren't making a difference. Maybe you're putting in the effort and not seeing immediate results. But trust me, those small wins compound. They add up in ways you can't always see in the moment, but they are working for you behind the scenes. The more you celebrate and build on those small victories, the more you'll start to notice momentum building. And here's the real magic. Small wins give you the confidence to tackle bigger challenges. Once you get used to celebrating the small wins, you begin to believe that anything is possible. The next challenge doesn't seem so daunting because you've already proven to yourself that you can take it on. You've built the habit of action. You've trained your mind to see success in the little things. And with that mindset, big wins will come, but they'll feel like a natural extension of the work you've already been doing. So let's stop waiting for the big breakthrough. Let's stop thinking that success is something that happens to other people. You are already on your way. Every small step you take today is a victory in itself. Every little decision, every task you complete counts. And when you start looking at it that way, you'll see that success isn't something that's out of reach. It's already happening. It's already in the small actions you're taking every single day. You've got everything you need right now. No waiting, no magic moment required. Every action is a victory. Every small win is leading you to bigger success. So, are you ready? Because I know you can do this. The road ahead may seem long, but it's paved with small wins, and you're already walking down it. Now I want you to take a moment and really connect with yourself. Let's put everything else aside for a second. I'd like you to take a deep breath with me. Inhale, slowly, filling your lungs, and exhale, letting go of any tension, any stress. Let your body relax. Let your mind settle. Take a few more breaths, just like that. Inhale and exhale. Feel the weight of the world begin to lift off your shoulders, even just for a moment. Now close your eyes if you can. If you're driving or in a place where closing your eyes isn't safe, just keep breathing, but focus your attention inward. I want you to picture yourself a week from now. Imagine you've gone through the next 7 days, taking one small step at a time. Maybe you wrote that email you've been putting off, or you finally organized your workspace. Maybe you had a conversation with a colleague or set aside time to reflect on your goals. Now imagine looking back and seeing all those small steps you've taken. Feel the sense of pride and satisfaction as you recognize that even though they seemed small in the moment, they were the steps that moved you closer to your larger goal. Think about how amazing it will feel to celebrate those wins, no matter how small they seemed. The feeling of accomplishment, of knowing that you didn't give up. Visualize how good it will feel to acknowledge all that progress. See yourself standing tall, smiling, knowing that each step you took, no matter how small, added up. Feel that satisfaction wash over you. Now take another deep breath, and as you exhale, let this feeling of progress settle in your heart. Remember, every step forward matters. It might not always feel like it, but trust me, each small win is leading you to something bigger. Every action you take today, no matter how small, is laying the foundation for your future success. Keep going. You're doing more than you think. And the next time you need a reminder, just close your eyes and remember this feeling. Take one last deep breath in and slowly let it out. You've got this. Today, I want to challenge you to start small. Right now, think about one tiny thing you can do today that will bring you one step closer to your goal. It doesn't have to be big or complicated. In fact, it's better if it's simple. Maybe it's organizing your workspace so you can think more clearly. Or perhaps it's writing down your goals for the week, giving yourself a clear direction. It could even be making that first phone call towards a project you've been putting off. Whatever it is, just take that first step. I know it can be easy to get overwhelmed by big goals. You might think, how can I ever achieve this? But here's the thing. You don't have to do everything at once. You don't need to finish the whole project today or solve every problem right away. The key is to start. By focusing on one small task today, you're already moving forward. You're already building momentum. This small action will not only make you feel good, but it will also make the next step easier. When you see that you've completed something, no matter how small, it will give you the confidence to tackle the next challenge. That's how progress works. One step at a time. So what's that small action you can take right now? It could be something as simple as drafting an email or even just setting a timer to work for 20 minutes without distractions. It doesn't matter what it is. Just do it today. Take action now. The beauty of starting small is that it's achievable. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment or the right conditions. The perfect moment is right now. Take that first step, and once you do, you'll be amazed at how much easier it gets to keep going. You've got this. Remember, every small win matters. So let's make today count, take action, no matter how small it seems. It's the first step to the success you're looking for. I'd really love to hear about the small wins you're celebrating. Every step forward, no matter how small, deserves recognition. So feel free to reach out to me on social media or shoot me an email. Share your progress, your victories, or even the challenges you're facing. Let's talk about it. We're in this together, and celebrating your wins is a reminder of just how far you've come. Let's keep the momentum going and inspire each other along the way. Let's take a moment to reflect on what we've discussed so far, especially if you're just tuning in, or maybe you didn't catch every point in the middle. Here's the core message I want you to walk away with today. Success isn't just about the big wins. It's easy to think that we only achieve success when we hit those major milestones, those giant leaps forward. But the truth is, success is built on the small steps you take every day. You don't need to wait for a huge breakthrough to feel accomplished. It's the everyday progress, the little victories, that add up over time and create a foundation for bigger achievements. Think about it. Every task you complete, every goal you write down, every time you show up, you are moving forward. These may seem like small actions, but they are the building blocks of success. When you start to celebrate these small wins, you'll notice something incredible happening. You'll build momentum. Momentum is a powerful force. Once you start recognizing and acknowledging your small victories, you'll begin to feel more energized and motivated to keep going. Every small win you celebrate is like a little spark that fuels the next one, creating a positive cycle of progress. And that momentum, it becomes the driving force behind your bigger successes. But let's not forget that celebrating small wins isn't just about feeling good in the moment. It's about reinforcing the habit of action. The more you acknowledge your progress, no matter how small, the more you'll be inclined to take the next step. It's a continuous loop of improvement. This is how big goals are actually achieved, one small win at a time. And I want to leave you with something to carry with you. As the great Tony Robbins once said, "The secret to living is giving." Now let's take this quote and apply it to yourself for a moment. What if I told you that the greatest gift you can give yourself is the ability to celebrate your own progress? No matter how small it may seem, your journey matters. Every step you take is worth acknowledging. You've earned it. Think about the times you've reached a goal, no matter how small, and you allowed yourself to feel proud. That feeling, the sense of accomplishment and satisfaction, is something that keeps you going. It builds your confidence and reminds you that you are capable. Give yourself the gift of celebrating your own progress. You don't need anyone else to validate your journey. You are the one who decides that every step forward is worth celebrating. So, let's take a moment and reflect on everything we've discussed. Remember, success is a series of small steps that build momentum over time. It's not the big, dramatic breakthroughs that create lasting success. It's the quiet, consistent effort you put in every day. If you start celebrating those small wins, no matter how insignificant they might seem, you'll create a cycle of positive progress that will keep you moving forward. Each small win is a victory. You've got this, and you're already on your way. Take this lesson with you. Success is not a destination. It's a journey made up of many small wins. And as you continue on that journey, remember to celebrate every step. That's how you'll keep going, and that's how you'll get where you want to be. As we wrap up today's episode, I encourage you to take action, no matter how small, and start building your momentum. Celebrate your wins and see how they multiply. The gift of progress is yours to claim. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I truly appreciate you taking time out of your day to listen and grow with me. If you found today's episode helpful, please subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave a review. Your support means the world to me. See you next time.